Are you ready to perform at your highest potential? Welcome to the Performance Matters podcast from GP Strategies, your talent transformation partner. In each episode, we'll interview industry experts and explore best practices and innovative insights to help your organization improve performance. What's number two?
Well, the best part is it actually correlates really well to exactly what we were just talking about. And so this is like kind of like another kind of current job, next job paradox. So things like values and strengths are important in the current job that someone has. And while financial reward is also important for the next role. So again, both things are important, but what we found is that when someone is in a current role and they are engaging with their leader in a conversation, one of the questions we ask is, what is the most important thing for you and your leader to get on the same page about? And just like in 2017, far and away, the number one thing that people said were my values and strengths and how I can do more work that satisfies them. So unsurprising to us, I think, looking at the data is like, yeah, values are still reigning supreme. People want to do work that aligns with who they are, what they stand for. They want to do what they do best. And if you want a peek at some of the other options, a distant second place. So 61% of people said, hey, number one thing to get on the front page is my values and strengths. The next highest response was at 17%. And that was previous work experience and roles. And then bringing up the rear were compensation and promotion. So again, those things are still important. And we did see some of the promotion and compensation numbers rise since the last time we asked it. Makes total sense. But to me, the headline is still clear in terms of people wanting to do that work that aligns with their values and skills.
Yeah. I don't know about you two, but for me, what I've always felt is like the compensation, it's important, but it wears off pretty quickly if you're not doing something that you really feel like, hey, I'm built to do this, right? And I can see why turnover would start to become an issue at that point because money's not gonna solve it for the long term right there. Leah, anything you want to add to paradox number two?
No, I mean, I would say you nailed it in what you just said in terms of, I do think there's a fatigue factor around discussing compensation and promotion, right? You can't have that conversation every week. It's fatiguing for the employee and the leader, and they don't want to have that every week. What you can talk about on a regular week, on a regular basis each week is, how did your week go? What was the best part of your week? What did you struggle with? And when you're talking about that, you're getting at issues of satisfaction. You're getting at issues of potential growth or places where maybe you don't feel like you're growing. So the other thing I would say is that those career conversations, talking about values and work that satisfies you, you can bring those into the cadence of your regular discussions with your employees, right? And that is not a fatiguing conversation. That's the kind of conversation you can have in your one-on-ones in a very natural way. I sometimes joke around that career discussions don't have to be these, let's sit down and stare deeply into each other's eyes. It's not that kind of thing. If you're doing it well, it's a little bit more informal, regular basis, and talking about, as Katie mentioned so beautifully in unpacking the research, things like values and work that satisfies me. And there are some very, I think, natural and authentic ways for leaders to bring that conversation into their day-to-day or week-to-week interactions.
Okay. Basically, the paradox is in that when people are in their current role, they want to be talking about their values and skills, and kind of compensation and promotion fall to the bottom. But when we asked a question in a different way and we said, hey, when you leave your position, what are you going to be looking for? Guess what rose to the number one and number two spots?
I'm going to probably say some cheddar. Perhaps.
Yeah. So what was on the bottom of the current role, compensation and promotion, actually rose to the top when we asked for people, what are you looking for in your next role? Number one, financial reward. Number two, promotion. Number three, I guess some work that is interesting to me. So again, to Leah's point about paradoxes in the beginning, both of these things can be true at the same time. I'm not going to lie. When I first saw this data, I panicked a little bit. I was like, what does it mean? What does it mean? And Leah helped me really cut through that noise of like, yeah, like both of those things can actually be true. Like when you're kind of in that current role, it's really important to be doing that work that aligns with who you are, what you stand for. And also when it comes time to like, to reach out, like, why wouldn't you be looking for a higher position, higher pay, particularly given some of the economic challenges and inflation and the struggle
for sure,
kind of real from a financial standpoint. So I just wanted to wrap up that paradox a little bit where it's like, again, both of these things can be true at the same time. It's not about neglecting any one of those components, but kind of understanding holistically kind of where they fit and kind of how to work them all into conversations with people that you lead.
Yeah. And I think there's something
sorry, go ahead, Leah.
Sorry, I was going to say, I think there's something also to the fact that, well, if you are going to leave, right, and there's a lot that goes along with leaving an organization. You're leaving hopefully colleagues that you care for and respect and work that you've done and maybe some amount of time that you've put in. So if you're going to quote unquote upset that apple cart, I think a lot of people would say, I sure as heck am going to make sure that there is some other benefit to me and my family in my life. And a lot of times that benefit does come in the form of compensation and promotion. So, and then when they get there on a regular basis, circle back to the beginning of the paradox, hopefully they're having those conversations frequently around values and work to satisfy. So it is that end also proposition. It's not not talking about out both sides of their mouths, which is a little bit of what we were pondering when we first saw the data.
Panicking. Leah says pondering. I say panicking. So
well, let's think about this the other way. If let's have you two address this one. Let's assume you're trying to keep someone within your organization. You value them. You've obviously been working on helping them develop their career skills. But when it comes to maybe making a jump within the organization, what's the impact if Katie, if you're my boss, okay? If you're my
in
boss,
a perfect world.
What kind of conversation? I know.
Continue with this fantasy story.
If you were, here we go. I was doing the Wayne's World thing, by the way. So
yes,
I don't know if
I'm picking up what you're putting down. Excellent.
Patent pending. But so what kind of conversations should you be having with me about next steps or compensation if I am one of your staff? Like, am I putting you two on the spot on that one?
No. Well, I'm gonna be a good consultant. Well, I was gonna answer your question with a question, but that's just rude. What I would say is, if I was doing what I should have been doing all along, we would have been having this conversation all the way along, right? So I would understand who you are, what motivates you, what you're looking for out of your career, the types of levers that, again, are motivating to you. If you and Leah were both on my team, what motivates you might be completely different. And if I have to manage both of you, I have to adapt my style in order to be effective for both of you and also really get to know you, not just as worker bees, but like human beings. And so it makes those career conversations, I think, a lot easier when you have like those things like trust and rapport and psychological safety, and you don't get to necessarily these potentially contentious moments in time because you've been walking this path with each other all along. I know I didn't answer your question straight away, but I do think, and I invite Leah if you want to jump in too, but the first thing that I think about when I think about those questions like that is, again, what has preceded this career conversation? Is it in a relationship in an environment that is full of trust and mutual respect and psychological safety? Or have there been challenges in communication, barriers to satisfaction or contribution that a leader maybe could have addressed but didn't? And that will impact that conversation or the ability for someone to feel like they can even bring their full self and their hopes and dreams to the table in that conversation.
The Performance Matters podcast is brought to you by GP Strategies. Together, we can create a world where business excellence makes possibilities achievable. You can subscribe to the show anywhere you get podcasts or listen on our website at gpstrategies.com.